Okay, in this presentation, I'll outline how the library partnered with colleagues across professional services to support data management planning and improve services for researchers. So ultimately, we can foster better research practice. So local factors influence how services are developed. So it's useful to appreciate some of our institutional context. So just for background, we're a really large, diverse, research-intensive university. We're looking after over 6,000 researchers, 2,000 plus staff, 4,000 plus postgraduates distributed across faculties, schools and institutes. That together they've got a sizable research income. Second point is that our RDM policy actually mandates a data management plan, or DMP, for every research study, whether it's funded, unfunded, staff, doctoral research, they're all in scope. And researchers must use the DMPonline service to write their DMP before the research begins, and then update that as necessary. Now, a cornerstone of our approach is the Manchester Data Management Outline. So let me explain how we developed and implemented this. Historically, we built our own in-house DMP tool, but we decided to move to the DMPonline service, which is hosted in Edinburgh by a digital curation centre, because it's easier to maintain, it's more user-friendly, and it allows Manchester researchers to collaborate with researchers at other institutions. Now, the move to DMPonline happened in April of 2018, and we used this move as an opportunity to review the links with other research procedures to see if we could improve processes and the user experience for our researchers. To do that, we brought together representatives from across our professional services departments, the library, information governance office, research IT, ethics and research support teams. We noticed that whilst there are different forms required for separate categories of research, it's the DMP is the one form that's used by all research projects across the university. So together we work to reduce duplication between those forms, so researchers don't have to fill in the same information more than once. Also to identify the information that we as services need to support researchers and to inform our own service development, and to gather information that the university needs to ensure compliance with GDPR. And the result was the creation of our Manchester Data Management Outline section. For convenience, I've abbreviated this just on the slides as the MDMO, and we commonly just refer to it simply as the outline. And this outline section prefixes all of our DMP templates. It's got 16, soon it'll contain 17 questions, and that collects all the information that we identified as necessary. And we designed the outline to be as quick and easy to complete as possible. In most cases, hopefully just a few minutes, because the questions are largely multiple choice, perhaps with some short text responses to expand. It's not always easy to get question wording that meets the needs of all the service teams, but one round of feedback on a first draft is usually enough to reach agreement. So once we'd agreed the questions to be asked, we designed a process for sharing the information between our services with minimal input from the researchers. And this allows us to identify any significant issues, to provide researchers with advice on best practices, and to trigger follow-up support if it's needed. And we ensure that all researchers who create a plan, they're actually contacted so that they can all benefit from the process, even if it's just to confirm that they're doing the right things. And we use DMPonline's API that sends us an email each day with details of plans that have been created over the last 24 hours. So that helps us make sure we reach everybody. And once a researcher has created their plan, the journey of the DMP begins with an initial check of the outline section by the library's RDM team. A feedback email is then sent to the researcher with some basic advice based on the answers that they've given. And this might cover information on service provision, storage options, data retention, managing risk, and if it's relevant, advice on handling sensitive data. And if any issues are identified around data protection, or if there's a need for IT support, then details of these plans are referred to the Information Governance Office and Research IT respectively, so that they can follow up with the researcher as necessary. Now, once that outline check has been completed, researchers are also offered the option of having their full DMP reviewed. They use DMPonline's request feedback button. And if a researcher takes up that service, we review their plan within DMPonline using the commenting functionality. And we'll return feedback to the researcher within 10 working days of that request. And since we started using DMPonline back in April of 2018, our researchers have created over 8,500 plans. It's about 3,000 plus plans per annum. And over the last 12 months, we've completed some 430 plus full DMP reviews. If a project needs university ethics approval, then researchers are prompted whilst filling in their ethics form to attach their DMP and any feedback they've received from the library or other support services. And this makes sure that the advice being given to researchers is consistent. It also allows ethics committees to ensure consistency across the researcher's own documentation about how they plan to process and protect their personal data. I thought it'd be helpful just to summarise in a single slide how we're supporting DMP practices across the university and just organise these broadly by theme. So I've already outlined how we're integrating DMPs with research support and ethics processes. Data management, it's also integrated increasingly into the postgraduate researcher progression, which requires the postgrads to consider data management issues, complete a DMP, and take appropriate action. And that will often trigger discussions with supervisors, which helps to further embed DMPs into the research culture. In terms of tailored support, I've already talked about the outline checks and the full DMP review service. Our inquiry service will help with any data-related questions, and will also deliver one-to-one consultations where necessary, perhaps to support complex DMP submissions for, say, a major grant application. In terms of generic support, a couple of points that might be interesting. Our policy provides high-level guidance on expectations, so we try to break that down with a complementary standard operating procedure, and that clarifies what researchers need to do in more practical terms. We also integrate data management planning into our training activities. That training is at least tailored down to faculty level, but if we get a request, we will deliver program-specific sessions as well. And after each topic in the training is covered, researchers are given time to write, a relevant section for their DMP. We've actually also established a new Writing Your DMP workshop. And that's turned out to be a really good way of starting useful conversations with researchers. Finally, we've also done some compliance monitoring for DMPs and reported the results to high-level research committees. This helps to engage senior managers, and we're pleased that we're finding a steady increase in compliance over time. So, reflecting on the work that we've done, some key points come to mind. Guiding principles. It's really important to balance the value that researchers and support services get from the outline section against the administrative burden that it creates for the researchers. If researchers feel it takes too much time or effort, then they're bound to question and push back. And I think to keep the researchers on side, it's really important they understand how it helps them in terms of making their lives easier by reducing the overall number of forms and questions they have to complete, but also, importantly, improving the services they receive through more timely and tailored support. And communications, especially at a large institution like Manchester, have a really important role in getting those messages across. A key enabler in this, of course, has been the collaboration across our professional services departments. Each service sees the research process through a different lens, and by working together, we've got a better understanding of what information is useful to collect. For example, to enable data protection compliance, to inform decisions by ethics committees, or to trigger service support. It might be perhaps research costing for data storage or advice on data protection. And we've always got to keep an eye on continually improving the service. Research data management is an ever-changing landscape, so it's really important to keep the outline section under continual review and adapt where necessary, either to incorporate new questions to address new issues, or to update and improve existing questions and guidance. And it's really important to have strong feedback loops and really listen actively for comments, both from researchers and our partner research support team. In formal terms, we've got broad representation from research support and researchers at our RDM operation group committee, and DMPs are a standing item on that agenda. But of course, strong informal channels and relationships are just as important. Looking ahead, what's next for data management planning? Well, we'll partner with the University Initiative on Open Research to try and foster good practice. A good data management plan provides the foundation for effective research data management, which in turn enables things like reproducibility and transparency that underpin open research. We'll also partner with a data stewardship initiative, and that will help us to enhance the localized support across the many and diverse research communities. And on a technical level, we're looking forward to implementing DMPonline's new conditional questions feature. And this will make our outline more efficient for researchers to complete. So for example, if a researcher indicates that their project won't be using personal data, then they won't be presented with any further questions relating to data protection. So that's really just a quick tour of what we're doing to support data management planning and improve services for researchers